Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is JohnJake Baseball on the mic here, coming at you with the full off-season recap here on MLB The Show 21. We had a great season of USBL baseball. We really did. The inaugural season was everything that we hoped for. It was an exciting thing, but we did end up seeing the Chicago Freeze end up going ahead and winning the first ever USBL championship, win the World Series in 7 games against the San Francisco Seals. And now we got some off-season action. This will probably be a little bit longer of an episode, so buckle in, guys. This is going to be a really good one. Make sure you smash that like button and also hit subscribe as well if you have to be brand new as well. But with that being said, let's get started going into the off-season, getting things going. First and foremost, we are going to go ahead and check out the good old-fashioned retirements. And in terms of players that actually were on a team, we didn't see very many people actually retire. You know, you see like a lot of these people, they were free agents when it was all said and done. That is the product of having like a fantasy draft, is, you know, you don't see as many people actually, you know, on rosters going ahead and retiring, but we do have a few people that still did end up retiring, starting off with Evan Norva, 35 years old. He actually did not play in the Columbus Jets organization in 2021, did not get any run whatsoever, so he's going to retire for the Columbus Jets. Another person retiring, but for age purposes, the only person retiring because of age, is Rich Hill, Minnesota Ducks starting pitcher. He started in 27 games this season, and he was all right. 8-13, did have a save, did also have a hold as well. Was a starting pitcher. He did end up with an ERA close to 4 for this one, so that will be a loss for Rich Hill. But he had a long career, though. He did end up, you know, pitching all the way till he was 42, but he was just losing some stuff on his fastball at the end of the day, and you know, he was really declining extremely quickly. So Rich Hill is going to retire. And then other people that are retiring because of ability is Jake Arrieta of the Houston Astronauts. He's going to go ahead and retire. He did not pitch in 2021. Jordan Zimmerman of the San Jose Marauders, he's also going to retire as well. The 35-year-old is going to call it a career. He also did not pitch in 2021 as well. We also see 2 players on the Charlotte Cougars retire because of ability. That's Tyler Herb. He was technically in his prime, 29 years old. Guess he didn't really like where things were going, so he called it a career anyways. And then Andrew Rami, 60 overall now, 36 years old. He's going to retire due to ability. Then we see the Louisville Colonials. They go ahead. They also have 2 players retire, both of them in their starting pitching staff. Ben Breimer is one of those people. He actually didn't really spend much time at the at the show necessarily. He was mostly a minor leaguer throughout the course of his career. And then John Lester, he's a little bit more notable of a name. He did not pitch in 2021, at least for the Louisville Colonials. He was in the farm system for quite a bit. He's going to call it a career as well. As we'll go ahead now, we check out the 2021 Hall of Fame inductees, and we actually don't have anyone in the Hall of Fame, at least for this season, which is totally fine. But now that we got that settled and taken care of, let's go ahead and take a look at the rebrands that I decided to implement on my own, as well as the rebrands that you guys wanted that I was really rocking with. So let's go ahead and see what we got. So with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the few of the rebrands that not only that I exclusively decided to do, but also a couple of the rebrands that you guys wanted in the Google's form that was on the USBL Season 1 recap. Is now we go ahead, see what we got. We did end up changing the Houston Hurricanes. They were the Houston Astronauts, but I thought that was a little bit too close to a certain MLB team. You know, they did make it all the way to the ALCS, so we changed them up. They are now going to be known as the Houston Hurricanes. loving the change name. We changed the colors up a little bit, going from the purple and white to that purple and yellow. I actually really like the logo. I really like the jerseys. They will be known as the Houston Hurricanes. Another team that we ended up changing up to is the Pittsburgh Force. They are going to be relocated from what we saw with the Detroit Leopards. I wasn't really feeling their logo. They are now out in Pittsburgh. They will be known as the Pittsburgh Force, and they should be getting themselves a brand new stadium to work with as well. They will be rocking with Pittsburgh Stadium. I am so excited for the Pittsburgh Force. Hopefully they can play a little bit better here in season number 2. And finally, this was something that what you guys in the community wanted. You wanted to see the San Jose Marauders move to a different city, and we moved them out to Honolulu. They will be now known as the Honolulu Islanders. You know, they got that nice little Hawaiian feel to them. They will be rocking. Oh, they're now at Hawaiian Airlines Field, so very excited about having a team in Hawaii playing some baseball out there in order to grow the game in the United States. This will be, I believe, their first pro team in Hawaii. But now it is also time to go ahead and reveal where your custom prospects are going. Starting with the first overall pick in the USBL draft, we have George Alberto Hernandez. And what's nice about what I did decide to do for all of the custom recruits, I did give them a slight bump, not only to their overall, but also to their potential, so that we would end up seeing them at the highest USBL level as soon as humanly possible. And he has some great stats to work with. He is going to be a 71 overall. He has insanely high potential in the ballpark of a 95 potential, I think. And he has a chance to make it in his rookie year to the USBL level. This is what Aurora Lightning got going on as of right now. George Alberto Hernandez, worst case scenario, might be in the AAA level to start the season, but work himself into that pro rotation sometime in the season. For the Memphis Bobcats, we have Tayshawn Johnson. He was selected in the first round of the USBL draft as well. He comes in just 18 years old. He is a 62 overall. Not the greatest potential in the world. He does have that C potential, which we did bump up just a tad. He does have a chance to come in and contribute. You know, there's not a ton of shortstops in this Memphis Bobcat organization. He'll likely be starting at the AA level. For the Phoenix Firebirds, we have Demi Hill, who was a first-round selection in the Year 1 USBL draft. Demi Hill, number 1. He's got some nice size to him as well. 6'5", so he is a very tall human being as well. You know, he is a pretty raw player, though. 56 overall, even after the stats that we bumped him up to. He does have that A potential, though, but it looks like he will be starting at the single-A level to start his USBL career. For the Boston Quakers, we will have Tyson Steele, who was a first-round selection for Boston. They could use some young premier talent after the season that they had in the previous year. It was a rough year for the Boston Quakers. They were actually sellers at the USBL trade deadline. But Tyson Steele comes in at 21 years old. He is a 62 overall. Fun fact, he is actually going to be repping a division-free university. Yes, you did indeed heard that correctly. He is representing Bluffton University. He is their first player to make it to a professional baseball level, and he will probably be starting potentially in AA. Could be a high single-A player to start season number 2. So for the San Antonio Outlaws, we do have Rise Royce at that starting pitching position. He is a guy. He's going to be coming straight out of high school, just 18 years old. He does have some growing to do, 56 overall, but has an A potential. he can certainly live up to it, but he looks like he will be starting in Single A to start his USBL career. For the Philadelphia Patriots, we have one of my YouTube members over on the main channel. We have Papa Gump. He is a relief pitcher. He was taken in the top 10 of this past year's USBL draft. He's a big man, 6'3", 260 pounds. He is a very intimidating figure to go up against. Only 18 years old too. That's the crazy part. Now, he is listed as a 59 overall, but you can see this bullpen right now for the Philadelphia Patriots. It's not that great of a bullpen outside of John Barreba and Trevor May. So definitely some work that needs to be done with that bullpen. So that being said, Papa Gump does have opportunity to work himself up the ranks rather quickly and get himself up to the main USBL level. For the Washington Senators, we'll have Cam Darden playing at second base for the Washington farm system. Probably a guy that will start off in Double-A, but he's got some good stats with him. Already a 65 overall. He's got that A potential as well. Look for him to potentially go ahead and crack this USBL lineup to start season 2. You know, once we get to like the trade day, maybe like a September call-up. We'll just have to wait and see how that shakes out. For the Indianapolis Indians, we have Xavier Zandu playing at shortstop for the Indianapolis Indians. And this is a guy, you know, he came out of college at North Carolina, 6'3", 217 pounds. He comes in at least a somewhat polished player, 64 overall. There is concerns whether he can actually grow that much. He is only a C potential, but that being said, though, he is a solid baseball player. Worst case scenario, he would be great for the farm system. We'll have to keep tabs to see how his career ends up progressing. And then finally, the only custom prospect that was created that is not a first round pick. He was selected in competitive balance A. This is Max Steele. Now, Max Steele is a pretty good ball player, if I say so myself. A potential, 61 overall, and he's got good size on him too. 6'4", 210 pounds. Got some good speed as well, so he can cover quite a bit of speed out there in the outfield. 90 steal, 85 base running aggression. This is a guy that, you know, is a burner and is going to be a threat on the base path, but can he develop his batting though? That being said, got guys like Jason Dominguez ahead of him, but Quad Wiles is starting to get a little bit older, so you never know what could happen. He could be somebody that could at least be a backup player, depending on how his progression turns out. So let's go ahead and get ourselves into some USBL free agency action. But before I went into that, I wanted to go ahead and lay down some ground rules in terms of how things are going to be for free agency in this series. So how I have it set up is I want to have a little bit more movement than in the actual like MLB, right? So how it's going to be is any players that wanted to quit for free agency or even in arbitration that are extremely unhappy with their situation, like the lowest morale possible, with the morale icon, they will walk into free agency. Now, how teams will be able to bid is this year, how it's set up with this year's free agency class is each team will have a chance to go and get one player that is 90 overall or better, as well as two players that are 80 overall and higher. So that's how it's going to work. Each team will have an equal opportunity. That's how I want to try to do like the competitive balance thing. The only exception that I will have is if, you know, a team wins a bid on a player, but then that player still refuses the contract, he will go back into the pool and anybody can go after him. He'll be thrown in with the guys that are 79 and under. Those guys I'll let the CPU handle, but anyone 80 and up, I will personally decide who's going to go to which team using a random spinner, a random generator, just to keep things fair and honest. But now that we have the ground rules for free agency settled and taken care of, let's go ahead and take a look at the notable free agents that are going to be available on the market And we're going to go ahead and start off with the Milwaukee Bears. They are going to see Victor Robles, who, only 24 years old, but not liking the situation in Milwaukee. He's going to walk. And then Joey Wendell, the 31-year-old second baseman, 83 overall, he's going to walk as well. Meanwhile, for the Aurora Lightning, Brian Buxton, the 28-year-old from Georgia, 90 overall, is going to walk away from the team, and so is Willie Adames. But keep in mind, for arbitration, they will have 3 separate slots for these notable free agents. For the Denver Bald Eagles, we're actually going to go ahead and see Tom Murphy as a catcher walk away at 80 overall, looking to maybe join a little bit better of a team. Austin Meadows, who is an A potential guy, he's going to walk as well for them. For the Baltimore Stone Crabs, we're actually going to go ahead and see Pete Alonso walk. 80 A potential, 87 overall, 27 years old, bat 265 in this previous season, 48 homers, 129 ribbies. He could be a huge add for somebody that needs a bat at first base. For the Boston Quakers, it looks like their teardown of the roster is going to continue a little bit, as David Fletcher is going to walk in free agency. The 27-year-old looking for a new opportunity elsewhere. Meanwhile, for the New York Knights, they actually are losing some pretty high-profile free agents, and they might be hurt the most in the arbitration period. Ramon Laureano, Brandon Woodruff, Tyler Glasnow, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, and Jesse Winker are all going to be walking in free agency, and New York's going to have to fight for all of these guys to bring them back. For the Atlanta Barons, we are going to see a few guys in the free agency pool as well. Mike Soroka of the Atlanta Barons, 89 overall, only 23 years old, but going to be in arbitration. Could be a huge help for somebody that needs a top arm for their starting rotation. Then we will also see another starting pitcher, Sandy Alcantara, 26 years old, and Garrett Hampson, 80 overall. He's down to a B potential, so he wasn't A potential when we started this series. That is no longer the case. As for the Cleveland Rockers, we're going to see Gleyber Torres in free agency. Same thing with Jack Flaherty, Chris Paddock, and Andrew Bartani. So the Cleveland Rockers will have their work cut out for them in order to keep their core guys that did finish with one of the best records in the American League going. For the Nashville Blues, Lucas Giolito is going to leave for free agency, 90 overall. Pablo Lopez is planning on leaving as well. The 26-year-old, 83 overall, he's going to be leaving the team. At least, testing free agency waters. Same thing for Hunter Renfroe, the right fielder, 30 years old. He's going to be in the free agency pool as well. For the Minnesota Ducks, we do have one notable free agent. That will be Tim LaCastro out at second base, looking for one more big contract while he is still in his prime. For the now Honolulu Islanders, formerly known as those San Jose Marauders, Dansby Swanson is going to be in free agency, not necessarily feeling the trip out to Hawaii to live there long term, so he's going to test the free agency waters. Keeping it out west, but back in the continental United States, we have Seth Lugo, a relief pitcher. He is one of the best relievers available on the market. Getting a little bit older, losing some of his control, losing some of his stamina. He's starting to decline, but still a very good relief pitcher to have. He will be in free agency. And for the Seattle Pilots, the best player in this free agency pool is Aaron Judge. He's going to walk away from the Seattle Pilots, and that's going to be a very massive loss. Guy that bat 257, 38 homers, and 90 ribbies. But look at that overall, 90 overall. This was a guy that was perfect. He did end up, I believe, winning a Gold Glove for the Seattle Pilots. So that is a huge loss for them. They can't re-sign him. They're also going to be losing Wilson Contreras, at least to the free agency pool, as well as Tommy Edman as well. For San Antonio Outlaws, a slightly big loss in Dylan Moore, 82 overall, in his prime right now at 29 years old. Then we have the Charlotte Cougars, who are going to lose a notable free agent in Jameer Carraro, the third baseman, 28 years old. He is up to an 81 overall. Meanwhile, the Jacksonville Suns, they're only losing one player between free agency and arbitration. That's Tyler O'Neill, but it's quite a bit of a loss if they can't re-sign him. 26 years old, already an 86 overall. He had one of his most productive seasons, his first full season, really, of professional baseball. So if they can't get him back, that's a huge loss. Speaking of huge losses, the New Orleans Kings are losing Yordan Alvarez to free agency. Now, they will still have a chance to sign him back, but 91 overall, 24 years old. In the arbitration period, they got their work cut out for him. And they're also losing Rhys Hopkins, the first baseman for the New Orleans Kings, in his prime right now. 84 overall, 29 years old. So those people that I just showed you guys that are going to be in arbitration, they're not going to be in the free agency pool right this second. But that being said, though, we will see them later on. But in the meantime, we'll take a look at the rest of the free agents in this free agency pool, and we got ourselves some really good free agents. How about Clayton Kershaw off the top? 95 overall. He is 34 years old, so he's a little bit older. But that being said, he can still go out, get the job done. He did have his highest ERA, but still a really good pitcher. None of the less. He can definitely help out somebody that needs some top-end starting rotation help. Then we do also have Carlos Correa. Now, Carlos Correa, he is a guy that played for the San Diego Whales as well. 27 years old. He had a nice season last year. 2.68 ERA, or not ERA, batting average. 23 home runs, 70 RBIs to go with it as well. And also a guy that had a really good fielding percentage, close to 99%. He is a guy that can definitely go ahead and really help out your baseball team. Same thing for Michael Conforto, 88 overall. He did play for the Washington Senators his past season. 276, 32 homers, and 88 ribbies. Born in the state of Washington, played for the Washington Senators out in DC. Then we have Christian Vasquez. Vasquez played at catcher for the Cleveland Rockers, and he was a solid bat for Cleveland. 14 homers, 42 ribbies, and a 256 batting average. This was also a guy that did a real good job of fielding. Only had 3 errors the entire season. So he's definitely a good player to have on your team. A good starting catcher, might I add. Borderline all-star caliber. Eddie Rosario is also available on the market. He played left field for the Nashville Blues last season. He had a rough year, so I'm interested to see what the market is for him. 227, only 20 homers and 59 ribbies. Didn't do that good of a job batting this past season. Actually, his worst season at the professional level. So we'll see what his free agency market is like. Jonathan Filler of the Phoenix Firebirds. He's also available as well in the free agency market. He's an 80 overall. Solid player, but had a tough season batting, only batting 214. And then to round things out, we have a catcher in Manny Pena, who did, he did hit, he's at 80 overall still, but he's 34 years old, but he's still growing. He actually improved last season, even though it is technically outside his prime. He did only play in 37 games last season, so wondering if he still stays with the Milwaukee Bears, or does he go to a different team so that he does have an opportunity to go ahead and get a little bit more playing time here in the future. So we get through the first day of free agency, and how about this? Clayton Kershaw going to the Columbus Jets. That is a massive signing for him. Signing on a 4-year, $10.7 million per year deal. You'll love to see it. So a great signing for the Columbus Jets to start things out. Meanwhile, we do also go ahead and see our first big signing out on the field. We see Carlos Correa. He was a player that played for the San Diego Whales. He's going to play for the Atlanta Barons. He got a 5-year, $106 million deal. And early on, man, the San Diego Whales, big losers in free agency. They lose Clayton Kershaw. They lose Carl Correa here. So San Diego's got some work that needs to be done in order for them to go ahead and try to make up a little bit of ground in free agency. So now that we get ourselves into the arbitration period of free agency, seeing those arbitration guys starting to come in, Gleyber Torres, he was on the Cleveland Rockers, but he is going to be donning a new uniform. He is going to play for the Washington Senators, so that will be a big signing for that organization. But that is not the only move that the Washington Senators will go ahead and make. They do also go after Pete Alonso. He had a 5-year, $48 million contract. Gets him away from the Baltimore Stone Crabs, so the Washington Senators get some big signings. But then look at this. The Phoenix Firebirds end up getting Aaron Judge. 5-year, $137 million contract. The best player that was available on the free agent market. He's going to go from the Seattle Pilots and going to move himself out to the Phoenix Firebirds. What a signing for that organization as they try to make the playoffs for the very first time in this series. Not to be outdone, though, the Indianapolis Indians do end up getting Yordan Alvarez, plucked him away from the New Orleans Kings, and they surprisingly did it off of a really cheap contract as well. He signs for just a 2-year, $3.6 million contract. And keep in mind, only 24 years old, a 91 overall too. New Orleans Kings in this situation, they definitely fumbled a bag, and this is a huge pickup for the Indianapolis Indians. While we are thinking about the National League East, let's go over to the Charlotte Cougars, who get a big ace for their rotation. Mike Soroka is going to go ahead and sign with the Charlotte Cougars. Only 23 years old and 89 overall. That's a big boost to them, able to get him on the squad. That being said, though, the Washington Senators are not remotely close to being done. They also get David Fletcher from the Boston Quakers. 87 overall, 27 years old, 11 home runs, 60 ribbies. And they get him on a reasonable deal. 5 years, $42 million. That's a really good deal for them. As for the Minnesota Ducks, they do go ahead and get themselves a pretty big signing as well. They sign the center fielder Ramon Laureano from the New York Knights. They got him from that New York market. He's going to be going to play baseball in Minnesota. Almost had 100 RBIs in season number 1, batting .286, 34 ribbies. Gonna try to compete with the Chicago Freeze. They're in the same division, and so if they want to make sure that they don't have to deal with the Chicago Freeze early on in the playoffs, they gotta overtake them. This is one way to go about doing just that. Meanwhile, the Atlanta Barons are simply not done yet, as they also get a big signing at that catcher position. They get Wilson Contreras, who I do believe Wilson Contreras, he was part of that Seattle Pilots team. So Seattle losing 2 prime players, and this one's going to Atlanta, batting .257, 16 homers, and 53 ribbies in his prime right now, and cashing in nearly $100 million on his contract. And look at this. Atlanta just continues to keep it going. Tyler O'Neill is also going to sign. 86 overall, 26 years old. How about this, Tyler O'Neill? Going to be playing with the Atlanta Barons as well on top of that. So now that we're also going ahead and waiting to see where the other major free agents go ahead and sign, we do have the Rule 5 draft. Now, the Rule 5 draft, how I have it planned out is, unless they're going to be a top 5 pitcher on the rotation, or they're going to at least be the second best player on the current roster, they will not be drafted in the Rule 5 draft. But with that being said, what I will go ahead and do and show you the highlights of everyone that did end up being picked. So let's go ahead and get it started. Alright, so this was the actual aftermath of this draft class. I actually didn't realize I had it on auto draft, which was a little bit embarrassing, but we are going to go ahead and roll with it. Do have a few guys that did end up getting picked that still have some potential. Notably, you got Tevin Vervra, He's going to be picked up. He's a 71 overall. We also have Harold Ramirez, a right fielder that's going over to the Columbus Jets. He spent a couple years in Jacksonville, although didn't get any playing time last year. Michael Brusso for the Atlanta Barons, 28 years old. He's going to Atlanta. We have Evig Skog playing catcher for the Louisville Colonials. He's 25 years old. This would be his first USBL action. But then we see some custom prospects here as well. Ja'Shawn Jackson for the Aurora Lightning. He's going to head over there. He does not have any MLB service, but that being said, he could see some serious action going on over there. Down here in the second round, we see a relief pitcher in William Ouellette of the New Orleans Kings. He's a 66 overall, listed at, at least like 70 out of 80 potential. So he's still a B potential, could still do some things. We'll see if they incorporate him into the bullpen or not. And yeah, man, that is going to go ahead and wrap things up. For the Rule 5 draft, what I am going to go ahead and do, put contracts on auto so that we see some true chaos, see where the rest of these players sign. So with that being said, we do have Brian Buxton signing with the Nashville Blues officially, and this is a big pickup for Nashville. He ends up signing on a 5-year, $76 million contract in his prime right now at 90 overall. This will be a huge boost for a Nashville team trying to play a lot better than what it did back in Season 1. Meanwhile, for the San Diego Whales, we see a great pickup for them in order to go ahead and replace Clayton Kershaw, who did sign with the Columbus Jets. Jack Flaherty is going to go ahead, sign with San Diego, 88 overall. Did have a little bit of a rough outing last year, 4.3 ERA. Hopefully he brings that back down a little bit. We also see Lucas Gelato sign with the LA Saints officially. He was a late signee, but 6-year, $39 million contract for the LA Saints. Then we do also see another signing for the Baltimore Stone Crabs, Julio Arias, at $5.2 million a year, 25 years old. Will be a great pickup for him. Cheap contract as well. You love to see that. But guys, all that being said though, that is going to wrap up the off-season episode. Next time out, we will have the Year 2 preview. We're going to take a deep dive into each of the 30 teams in the USBL moving into year number 2. It should be a great one, so make sure you go ahead, smash that like button for me. Hit me up down in the comments down below, and also hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new. This is JohnJake Baseball on the mic signing off. I'm hoping you're all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.